Descent of the Demon God. By Hanjo Wiolia. Chapter 97. The Murim Association. Part 1. I guess they aren't that stupid. Chen Yowen, who read the memories of Kwok Woon's ghost, thought so. No matter how much information was blocked and covered with the pretext of the Gate Wars, the Murim Association's suspicions were directed towards the Sky Demon Order. This is proof that they are afraid of the cult. The proof was that the Murim Association could do nothing other than hold back even though 27 years had passed. However, that wasn't all. The Murim Association's response was quite extraordinary. According to Kwok Woon's memories, the Murim Association sent him because he was close to Jinan City. They didn't hold on to their power. Even among the association's warriors, the 5 great warriors were the best. In the case of Kwok Woon, he was from the Mount Hua clan. Of course, this action was taken by the association since they thought that such a skilled person would be able to solve the suspicions they had in the Jinan city. Understanding the entire situation from the memories alone was difficult. Kwok Woon didn't directly give the full answers, but he did unconsciously recall a few things. And those fragments were being seen by Chen Yowen. It was more like a movie, but unclean editing. Well, it wasn't like there was no benefit from this. He got some pretty useful ghosts, and learned about some of their weaknesses too. The number of ghosts around Chen Yowen was 14, including Kwok Woon. 5 out of the Mount Hua clan disciples couldn't be turned into ghosts. Some kind of self-defense which prevented the ghosts from forming. Among the 18 disciples, some witnessed the death of their comrades and responded accordingly, so the surprise attack didn't work. And as they died, ghosts didn't form from their bodies. So the ghost wouldn't be formed if the man's body was being protected by self-defense techniques. That was unfortunate. If this weakness spread to others, then they would use that to prevent more ghosts from forming. Well, the secret should just not leak out. Since he was aware of this, he blocked the blood points of Kwok Woon in advance. Come in. When Chen Yowen raised his right arm, the ghosts roaming around began to get absorbed into the wrist guard. Shoo! Any power could be used appropriately. Chen Yowen came out of the warehouse and approached the large RV parked in front. Looking at the license plate, it was clear that this car was a rental. Shoo! Click! Chen Yowen reached out and broke the window. A study case bag inside. The case seemed to be made of special alloy and locked with a fingerprint. However, that meant nothing to Chen Yowen. Beep! Nano hacked through it, and the case was opened. It revealed a fist-sized sphere emitting dazzling light. A core. Estimated to be an A-class core. Right. If one looked at the vast energy radiating from it, it was sure to be an A-class core. Satisfied, Chen Yowen closed the case. This must have been the core that Kwok Woon had acquired in the gate at Weifeng City. I must be lucky. Coincidentally, right after acquiring the core, he was asked to take up this job in Jinan City. Due to that, the man could not absorb the core and brought it along, only to die and let Chen Yowen take it. At the dying moments, the man had intensely thought of this. 2 A-class and 1 S-class core. Chen Yowen was anxious as he didn't have many cores with him, but he managed to have 3 cores of top quality. And this would be enough to increase the power even more. Now that we have recovered the important thing, should I recover the others too? Chen Yowen closed the case and walked around the entrance of the product warehouse looking for the dead masked people and the corpses of the Mount Hua disciples. Meanwhile, some people of the Yongchun group had arrived. Huan Miango couldn't hide his shock. Fortunately, the situation was sorted out by Chen Yowen, but he hated himself for not being able to get the information that the Murim Association had come here. I am sorry. I should have known this. It was hard to say that this was Huan Miango's mistake. Because of the underground high-speed trains, which were managed by the defense, it was unreasonable to know who was using them in real time. And as the trains were the most important means of transportation, it was impossible to plant people, because the defense would thoroughly check for suspicious people. Huan Miango tried to plant people with fake human skin masks, but it always failed as fingerprint and iris verification were needed. I'll try to figure out a way to identify the people coming into Jinan. Chen Youwen threw something at Huan Miango. Use this. Tack. This is? A ring. It looked like an ordinary ring. Why would he be given a ring? The one called Kwok-woon had it. Huh. Kwok-woon. The Mount Hua clan's Kwok-woon? Huan Miango was shocked at those words. Even though he wasn't a member of the Murim Association, Huan Miango knew the things happening in the Murim world. And Kwok-woon was one of the 5 great warriors. He didn't even imagine that one of the strongest in the association would break into the warehouse. Director Huan. Look at this body. At the same time, the cultists who were incinerating the bodies around the product warehouse brought a body out on a stretcher. The body belonged to Kwok-woon. White face and a ghastly body. But the man was easily recognizable. For the swordsman of Mount Hua to turn into this. He knew about Chen Youwen's power. And for Chen Youwen, even the 5 great warriors seemed to be just rats. Are they sending the strongest ones? That means that the Murim Association has noticed us. Huan Miango's face darkened at that. When they went against the Jinan city's Murim branch, they did expect this to some extent. But he didn't think that such strong people would be sent. This meant that they were being vigilant. If Lord Chen Ma hadn't come here first, then the device would have been taken away and we would have suffered terribly. Chen Youwen could easily handle Kwok-woon. However, the reputation of the Mount Hua clan's Kwok-woon was huge. And if it was the Yongchun group that fought with him, then they would have lost. The Murim Association would have also received the information that the cult was trying to rise again. Huan Miango opened his mouth with a serious look. My lord, the Murim Association must have noticed us. They would be idiots if they didn't. I see why Lord has ordered for the merging to be done right away. If the Murim Association was being this wary, it was obvious that they would think of other ways to attack the cult. The longer it took for the merger to happen, the more chances Murim Association would have to sway others. In the end, the merger had to be hastened like Chen Youwen said. Lord Chen Ma, what about this? Huan Miango asked about the ring he was given. A personal belonging of Kwok-woon, but he didn't know the reason Chen Youwen gave it to him. There is a chip in the ring. Huh? Inside? The ring was small and thin, which meant that a microscale chip could be planted in it. It has to be the Murim Association. You brought your phone? At Chen Youwen's words, Huan Miango handed the smartphone around his wrist. As Chen Youwen grabbed the phone, a nanowire jumped out of Chen Youwen's palm and connected with it. It then sent information to the screen. After finishing, Chen Youwen handed the phone back to him and said, I put the code of the frequency of the chip in the ring. Lord, code of the frequency? Huan Miango couldn't hold back his expression as the task was done in such a short time. He looked at his phone. Since not even the fingerprint was unlocked, he couldn't understand. To him, Chen Youwen said, Can you use that to make a tracking device? Possible. Building a tracking device could be possible if the frequency code was known. And with that, it would be possible to find out the owner of this chip. Though it couldn't be used inside the underground trains, just putting the members of the cult with the tracking device on the platform would be enough to detect people. We can stop them as soon as they enter Jinan City. Suddenly, Huan Miango thought that it wouldn't be just Kwok-woon, but the other warriors of the Murim Association would have this too. Then the others will. No need to check. Put your hand out. Huan Miao stretched his hand out at Chen Youwen's words. A handful of things were grabbed from the pocket of Chen Youwen's coat and placed in his hand. It started with buttons and all. Why, you found all these? Huan Miao was shocked. Without proper equipment, he was worried about how to find these chips. But the surprise didn't end there. Take this as well. This is what Kwok-woon had. Kwok-woon? Huan Miao was puzzled by the case that Chen Youwen handed him. It had fingerprint recognition, but it wasn't locked, so he opened it. Oh. A core was inside the case. Huan Miao was at a loss of words at the core, which was emitting tremendous energy. Just when? It seemed like Chen Youwen possessed a number of abilities that didn't go in line with a martial artist. And it was so amazing to see them all in action. They are all unlucky ones. They tried to take away the core refinement device and dig up information about the cult. However, they didn't just lose their strong warrior, but also a precious A-class core. They were going to get pissed now. And just the thought made Huan Miao feel refreshed. Up until now, they were all in a position where they were bowing down to the Murim Association. But seeing how the Murim Association was now getting beat, he felt excited. And then came one concern. This one will make them certain. Come to think of it, till now, the association was in a state of doubt. However, if the recapturing of the device failed and the fact that Kwok-woon died was known, then their doubt would turn into certainty. Lord Chun Ma. It seems like their movement will be in full swing after this. In what way? Maybe they will try to pressure us saying that Kwok-woon disappeared, or maybe they will come for an all-out war with us before we even get the numbers on our side. If the association dispatched one of the 5 great warriors because of a doubt, then they'd surely wage a full-out war if they were sure. If that happened, the merger wouldn't be the most important task, since it would be crucial to come up with a way to handle the Murim Association. That won't happen. Sorry? Puzzled at Chen Youwen's, Huan Miao asked. How could you get to that conclusion? Huan Miao. What do you think is the best defense? It seemed like Chen Youwen was asking about the invasion preparation of the association. Chen Youwen spoke in a calm voice to Huan Miao as he was nervous and couldn't come up with an answer. It is a preemptive strike. 3 days later. Wuhan City. Located in the middle of Hubei province, this city was known to be the safest city. The reason was that the head office of the Murim Association was located here. The home of the modern martial arts, with hundreds of small and medium clans taking root here. More than 30,000 of the residents were martial artists. The headquarters of the Murim Association was to the northeast of Wuhan. The main office building was in the form of a tiled house modeled after the old Murim structure. In addition, there were more than 20 buildings and hundreds of exercise facilities on the vast site. Ha! Ha! The cheers of Murim people filled the hall throughout the site. And a large cargo truck had entered the Murim Association. Kick! The barricade went down and blocked the entrance. The guards at the entrance of the main gate came out and stopped the cargo truck. A security guard wearing a yellow band, who seemed to be the team leader, gestured for the window to be rolled down. Whee! The truck's window rolled down and showed the driver's face. But the driver seemed nervous. Puzzled, the security guard asked. Your vehicle isn't registered, so what business do you have here? That. At the question, the driver looked at the person sitting next to him. Since the cargo truck was large, the passenger seat wasn't visible from outside. However, the truck driver suddenly looked confused. Huh? If you say that. The head of the security guard thought this was strange and took out the pistol. What are you up to? Show me your identity card right now. Waving his hands in fear, the driver said. I have nothing to do with this. Click. The guard aimed the pistol at the driver. "Declare what business you have here. Otherwise. Eik. Swish." When the leader gestured, the other guards pulled out their pistols and surrounded the truck. They were ready to check the truck at any moment. "This is the last warning." "What business?" It was then the voice of the one next to the truck driver came out. "Business? I have come to wipe out the entire main office of the Murim Association." Chapter 98. The Murim Association. Part 2. What? The leader of the security team couldn't believe his ears. He wasn't the best when it came to martial arts, but how could one utter such absurd remarks at the entrance of the Murim Association? "Crazy bastard. Seize them and search the truck right now." Except for the 5 guards aiming their pistols at the front window and the driver's seats, the other 8 people approached the back door of the loaded cargo truck. Click. A guard shouted at the driver. "Put your hands above your head, or I will shoot you." Eek. The driver immediately raised his hands. It looked like the guards were really ready to shoot him, so he followed their instructions. As for the luggage, "Open it." "Yes." While the rest of the guards were aiming at him, the other guards at the back pressed the up button at the back door, and the shutter entrance opened. Wing. The shutter went up, revealing the huge cargo inside. As there was no light, the entire space looked dark, but there seemed to be countless eyes lurking within it. The guards' faces hardened. One of the guards was startled and tried to shout. Team lead. Puck. Quack. Someone jumped out of the dark cargo and stabbed the guy in the head. Flustered, the others opened fire. Bobby bang. Clang. Clang. And no way. Those in the cargo compartment cut down the bullets with their swords. It was so fast that the guards couldn't even see what had happened. This sword is pretty good. The one who blocked the bullet was Hubong. Satisfied with the sword made from titanium alloy, he cut the guards with light movements. Clash. Slash. Quack. In a second or two, Hubong knocked them all down. The guards were all warriors too, but compared to Hubong, a supreme master level, they were like little kids. What is happening? The leader of the team, who kept aiming at the driver, looked back at the cargo in shock. The floor below was in blood. All the guards who were standing there had now fallen to the ground. Damn it! The leader, realizing that the worst had happened, tried to press the radio button on his chest. It was a button that would sound the emergency alarm throughout the site. At that moment, his head suddenly turned to the side. Crack. Cuck. He was a leader, a gatekeeper for the Murim Association, but in an instant, he lost his life. And he wasn't the only one. Thud. 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 5 other guards who were aiming their pistols at the driver died in the same way. The driver, who witnessed the scene, turned white, not knowing what to do. They are dead. The person next to him just made a single motion, and all of them just died. The driver, who was an ordinary civilian, considered the man to be the god of death. The driver can get off. Thank you for sparing me. Since he was spared, the driver was about to get out, when the person sitting in the middle handed him something. Here. This will be enough compensation. It was a single gold card. This card, which wasn't registered by a user, could act like a check. If this was taken to the bank and one asked to transfer the contents into their account, the amount would be transferred. You can buy 3 trucks like this. Thank you. The driver's expression brightened. The driver was already paid a huge amount for this transportation. Nodding, he took the card and looked at it a couple of times before running away. When he disappeared, the one in the middle seat moved to the driver's seat. Lord. Where to now? It was by Machian. When the driver was there, he tried to be calm, but he was actually nervous. Once they would pass through the main gate, they would enter the head office of the Murim Association. Is this really a safe plan? He trusted Chen Yuan, so he followed him here. But this place was the center of the enemy camp. The site was filled with thousands of enemies, and the entire Wuhan city had tens of thousands of warriors. Chen Yuan, who was in the passenger seat, opened his mouth while looking at the text hanging on the gate. Ban on firearms, is that like a weapon ban? Ban on firearms. Those who wanted to enter the head office of the Murim Association weren't allowed to carry firearms. All the firearms had to be handed to the security office. There was a thing called weapons ban in the past. Those who visited a clan territory would have to keep away their weapons to show that they didn't hold hostility. We don't have guns, so we can enter. Step on it, Machian. Yes. He stepped on the accelerator right away. Chen Yuan reached out his hand and the barricade shattered, opening the way. Rumble. The truck passed through. And as if there was nothing stopping it, the truck went ahead. Meanwhile, in the control room of the Murim Association, a place where the CCTVs were all being checked, a monitoring agent shouted. A cargo truck broke through the entrance. What? At those words, the head of the control room looked at the gate. In the video, the gate was mashed, and the cargo truck sprinted ahead. What the hell are the security guards doing? Shit. The head of the control room, who saw the CCTV video, shuddered at the sight. All the guards were dead. Sound the emergency alarm. Now. Yes. An agent pressed the emergency button right away. Wing. 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 An emergency alarm resounded throughout the head office. Each CCTV screen showed a number of warriors running out of the buildings. Hundreds of them came to the building entrance. Crazy bastards. How dare they bring down a cargo truck into the head office of the Murim Association? The head of the control room clicked his tongue. There were around 4,000 people on the site. And all were warriors. Even if it was the National Guards, they would have to be defeated if they fought against these warriors. They will die. There were 5 armed groups in the Murim Association. The first was the Association Defense Force, with a role to prevent enemies from invading the Murim Association. Li Chano, second commander. In the CCTVs, about 300 people were holding spears in front of a truck which was sprinting ahead. It was the spear troops led by Li Chano, the Spear King. One of 3 armed forces of the association. Spear troops. Get the spears ready. Spears ready. At Li Chano's cry, the members of the spear troops took a stance at once. A white light flashed on their spears. All of them had reached the master level and were able to create spear energy. Wing. Besides, the other groups rushed in from both directions to the spot where the cargo truck was coming. The 300 people from the west were brute force troops, and the 300 from the east were swordsmen. The warriors, who were close to 1,000, were all elite troops. Lord Chunma. The face of Bai Machian, who was holding the steering wheel, went stiff at the sight. The 3 leaders of the troops were all superior masters and had a huge reputation in the modern Murim. Keep going. Until the building there. Where Chen Yuan pointed was the tile-roofed building. It was the main office. Are we going to be fine? Bo Machian was worried. These people weren't the police or the National Guard. Even if they were in master level, with their numbers, they could cut down the truck in half. Stop the truck right now. Li Chano, the leader of the spear troops, shouted when the distance was around 300 meters. Despite driving, Bai Machian could hear the voice. They are stupid. And then gave the orders to the spear troops in a second. Spears. Get them ready. Yes. The warriors threw the spears loaded with spear energy at the cargo truck. Swoosh! More than 100 spears came for the cargo truck. El Lord Chen Ma by Mak Hien called for him. At that moment, Chen Yuan stretched out his hand towards the front. Papa Pack. 300 flying spears stopped. What? The spears stopped? At that sight, Li Chano and the others were shocked. And that wasn't it. Should give you back. When Chen Yuan gestured, the spears turned back and flew back to their owners. Swash. Ugh. Shield. At Li Chano's urgent cry, the spear users pulled their special alloy shields, which were on their backs. As if trained beforehand, they made a single-line shield with it. The only problem was that the spears weren't regular spears. Papa Pack. As they had spear energy on it, they passed through the shields. Quack. Whoops. In an instant, 100 warriors who were in the front row fell down. If it wasn't for the special alloy shield, then those in the second and third rows would have been penetrated. Crack. Such monsters exist? Li Chano grunted. He must not let this truck reach the main office. Spear holders. Follow me. Swash. Li Chano stood at the front ready to attack. The surviving people in the spear troops followed. It wasn't just them. Swordsmen, follow me. Fist troops. Follow me. Swordsman troops leader Ma Haiyanzheng and the leader of fist troops Li Chong went ahead with their men. Wah! Their screams reached the truck. Oh my gosh! Bai Makian frowned. To get so much manpower. At that moment, Chen Yuan said. Hu Bong. Mun Ranyang. Clench. As if waiting to hear the call, the roof on the truck was pierced, and 2 people jumped out. Chen Yuan ordered them. Teach those cheeky youngsters the power of the Sky Demon Order. We will teach them, my lord. Hu Bong and Mun Ranyang responded with power and extended their swords ahead. Weak. Flames fluttered from the sword in Hu Bong's hands. Drawing a huge trajectory, it flew to the swordsman. What is this? Flame? Papapak. Dozens of warriors, who were trying to move close, were swept away by the sudden flames. Quack. Hot. Similarly, from the outstretched hand of Mun Ranyang, a huge fan-shaped flame covered the fist troops. Weak. In an instant, the warriors of the fist troops were crushed by the flames and fell down. What is this? The flame wasn't just hot. The flame had energy in it, and it exceeded the level the association's defense forces could stop. Cuck. Damned bastards. Tack. The 2 leaders who managed to survive got close to the truck. Oh. Come on. Cha-cha-cha-cha. What kind of swordsman, quack. Hu Bong's brilliant swordsmanship fell on the body of Ma Haiyanzheng, who couldn't handle it and then fell down. It was no different for Li Chang'an, who got on the truck. What is this damn bitch using? Bitch? Don't make me laugh. Try beating this bitch if you can. Papak. Quack. Without much effort, Mun Ranyang's attacks made him bleed. As the technique of the Dragon Fist clan pierced into his internal organs, veins bulged out and then he coughed up blood. Papak. Having defeated the leaders of the 2 troops, the married couple walked ahead. The warriors of the spear troops, who arrived a little late, were running at the truck. Honey, should we go together? At Hu Bong's question, Mun Ranyang smiled and nodded her head. And then they both stretched out their hands at the same time. Weak. Hundreds of spheres of flame floated in the air. The sphere of flame surrounding the truck were spectacular. Li Chano felt terrified. Swoosh! The spheres of flame flew towards them like cannons. Li Chano cried out. Everyone! Avoid! Papak! Despite being warriors who had to be ready to die, the spear troops immediately spread out. Struggling to live. Yuk! Ak! But there were those who couldn't avoid getting hit. Those struck by the flame burned up right away. Damn it! Do you think that I'll be defeated so easily? Cha-cha-cha! The superior master level, Li Chano, hastily blocked the flame with a spear and evaded it. Bang! Kayak! But the speeding truck hit him. Bai Mak Hien, who was holding the steering wheel, frowned as the wheel shuddered a little. Who? Meanwhile, those monitoring the CCTV in the control room were stunned. One of the 5 armed groups of the Murim Association that had to stop the truck was wiped away. The red-haired man and woman on the truck were monsters. What are they? The truck was already getting close to the main office. Chapter 99. The Murim Association. Part 3. Beep. Beep. The intercom in the control room. The head, who was staring at the CCTV, was startled at the number of people who were simultaneously calling in. Yes. I am the head of the control room. What are you doing right now? A thick voice filled with displeasure came through the receiver. They weren't even face to face, but the man seemed very upset, so the head was standing stiff. I apologize. Apologize. How far do you plan on letting the cargo truck go? The head was restless at the words he heard. He was watching too. There was no way the man on the line couldn't see it. The most number of intercoms existed in the highest place of the Murim Association head office. The cargo truck was moving fast. The goal was, of course, the main office of the head office. DIR director. They don't seem to be ordinary warriors. They can freely use flame chi. Activate the EV fields. Huh? EV field. A device that scatters the energy around. Since the disbandment of the MS group 15 years ago, all the technical equipment related to them had been completely taken away and banned by the state. Numerous wires were deeply buried in the ground, and they were left untouched to avoid tearing down an entire site to retrieve them. Of course, that was the reason why the Murim Association was placed in such a place, but not many knew the reason behind it. Director General, the use of EV fields has been officially banned. Unless a majority of the council agree. What do you think we are doing right now? Currently, the council meeting is being held in the conference room. So rules could be made at any time. Then there would be no particular problem using the field. Except for one thing. But, if we use the EV field, it will also affect our allies. The worst downside of the EV field. It would make it impossible for anyone in that area to use their energy. Because it scatters all the energy around. In that case, won't we have an advantage with numbers? Wouldn't they have less advantage? At those words, the head of the security room went silent. Obviously, as he said, surely the energy in the bodies wouldn't be harnessed anymore, and it would be difficult to handle the opponents. But the man knew. Even if that was done, they had thousands of warriors there. I'll do as instructed. Click. With that, the intercom was cut. At the same time, in the conference room on the 30th floor of the Murim Association office, a tall, blue-eyed middle-aged man in a navy blue suit, with a disconnected intercom, turned his head and looked at the conference table. Wing. A hologram device was spinning. Most of those who attended the conference hall were present as holograms. In fact, there were just 6 people who attended this meeting. A middle-aged man with a sad-looking face, in the second seat, asked, "If the problem is serious, you can postpone this meeting." Director Kwan. Not at all. What could be more important than the demonic cult forming again? We will continue with the meeting right now. I know. When Director Kwan took his seat, a tall man in his late 30s, sitting at the top of the table with a blue suit, started the meeting. On the nameplate was written Mun Jong-so, the acting chairman of Murim Association. He was a disciple of the chairman of Murim Association and the director of the Ocean Group. BRRNG. A speeding cargo truck crossing the site of the Murim Association. B.I. Mac-Hien, who was holding the steering wheel, was on alert. On the way to the office, there were a huge number of warriors that couldn't even be counted with the naked eye. My mouth has gone dry. And there were some strong ones. It seemed like they were surrounding them to not let them go to the office. The reason they couldn't attack them was because of the numerous flame spheres around the truck. Weak. Some warriors tried to get close to the truck, but each time, Mun Ranyang or Hu Bong would guard the truck with flames. Nevertheless, they continued to move, and at some point, more warriors gathered in front of the office building. What is their plan? It was the moment they were puzzled. SHST. At the same time, the flame spheres spinning around the truck disappeared. It wasn't because Hu Bong or Mun Ranyang wanted to. This is? Chen Yawen narrowed his eyes. The energy of nature around him was rapidly dissipating. All around them. Is it like that time? Chen Yawen had been through this once. The EV field he experienced in the research center run by the MS group. Bong bong. The energy is scattered. The two people on the truck were shocked at what they were experiencing for the first time. Hu Bong raised his sword and tried to induce energy into it, but soon, the sword was back to normal. This is bad. Not being able to channel the energy meant that they couldn't do wide-ranged attacks anymore. Done. We did it. Woa. The warriors screamed. They had been gathered in front of the office because they were informed that an EV field would be activated. Even if the opponents were amazing warriors, if they couldn't make their swords fly or cast techniques, the battle would be close-ranged. Numbers would definitely win. Fight. Fat. Fat. As if waiting for it to happen, at the shout of the leaders, the warriors moved for the truck. When he saw people rushing in to fight the war. My lord. What do we do now? Bai Mac-Hien was terrified. At this rate, it wouldn't be weird if they abandoned the truck and move out. Those who used footwork were super masters, and they were gradually closing the distance. I guess they aren't all idiots. Chen Yawen had lost interest as he didn't like how the Murim Association responded to their intrusion. This was supposed to be the Murim Association. The first counterattack was horrible and didn't meet his expectations. Shakina. Yes. Master. Shoo. Shakina passed through the driver's seat. Shit. Despite knowing her abilities, Bai Mac-Hien was startled by her sudden appearance. Whoa. A swarm of humans. They look so delicious. Shakina wiggled her tongue. Instead of looking at them as enemies, she looked at them as prey. Use phasing. Yes. With a hum, she placed her hands on the truck's center. At that moment, a purple energy emanated from her dyed hands and gradually turned the truck transparent. Whoa! What was that? The truck is turning transparent. The warriors rushing towards it were confused by the strange phenomenon. The leaders urged the warriors to not stop. Don't concern yourself with that. That's just a gimmick. Move. At their leader's request, the Murims shouted and rushed again. Hap. Whoa. The leader of the vanguard troops tried to cut the truck in half with the huge sword. And then came the amazing thing. Shoo. The sword just went through the truck. It just passed through. The truck didn't stop and moved forward. Murim. Ugh. Flustered, the man tried to stop the truck with his sword, but the truck passed through him again. And the same happened with other warriors too. Shoo. What the hell is this? Truck. The warriors on the front swung their swords to smash the truck, but it passed through their bodies. They. Shoo. As the truck passed through them, everyone was shocked and stood still. Stop it. We need to stop it. How can we even stop this? There was no point in attacking the truck when it could pass through everything. The truck kept passing as if the 3,000 warriors ahead didn't even exist. And then reached the front of the Murim Association office, which they were desperately trying to defend. Such a stupid tea. The intruders passed us. The warriors were stunned as they saw the truck right ahead of the office building. For the first time in the history of the Murim Association, the enemy reached the office. And that while passing through all the defensive power. Wing. When the truck stopped, the door of its cargo compartment went up and around 50 people in black shirts and red letters came down. The elite people, all above supermaster level. Know those clothes? Demonic cult. The clothes were the traditional attire of the demonic cult. The warriors of the association who recognized that couldn't hide their shock. They all wondered what kind of enemies would do such a crazy thing. Who could have imagined that it would be the demonic cult? Grunt. How dare the remnants of the demonic cult raid the head office of the Murim Association? The center of the Murim. The leader of the vanguard troops, Kam Chiok, grunted his teeth. He was furious from the moment these intruders broke through, and now when they were in front of the main office too. Tak. Senior Kam. Next to him, Henryong, the leader of the Swordsman Unit White War Troops, one of the 5 Murim Association units, approached the man and held his shoulders. Contrary to his anger, he spoke in a relaxed manner. They aren't stupid people. To think they would hit this association with that much power. Leader Baek Cheon's words were right. Shoo. Baek Cheon, the leader of another unit, came up to them and clicked his tongue. Because of what they did in the Jinan city, the association was trying to put pressure on them, but it didn't work out because they ended up coming here. I guess so. We can certainly deal with the remnants of the cult using this as an excuse. Henryong agreed. Kam Chiok, who regained his calmness, spoke with a cold face while looking at the cultists who got down the truck. I guess so. You are right. They just entered the tiger's jaw on their own accord, they don't know what they are doing. The only way out was blocked by 3,000 warriors. Moreover, the main office they were standing in front of wasn't any random place. One of the 5 great warriors, Hyun Won Jiang, the Songyang swordsman, and the other strong executives were having a meeting inside. And probably realizing the situation, they would be coming out at any second. It was literally the worst scenario for the cult. Tap. At that moment, Chun Yeowon came out of the front seat. Hu Bong, Mun Ranyong, and Shakina followed behind him along with Bai Mak Hien. When Chun Yeowon walked to the back of the truck, the cult members went down on one knee and bowed, shouting, "Long live the great Sky Demon Order!" And with that, everyone knew that Chun Yeowon was the leader. Is that one the lord of the remaining members of the cult? The older warriors couldn't hide their curiosity. They had been fighting the disintegrated cult, the Black Sky Company, for several times, so they knew all their faces. Who the hell is he? When did they have such a young man among them? Just looking at his face, it was clear that the man was in his early 20s. Even when they tried to sense how strong he was, because of the EV field, they couldn't know anything. Huh. It doesn't matter. They are the ones we need to deal with, nothing else matters. Kam Chiok, the golden dragon sword, came forward and shouted. How dare you demonic cult raid the association? I guess your lives aren't worth much. Why don't you get down on your knees and surrender to us right now? Seeing how widely the voice resounded, people knew how strong he was. As expected from the golden dragon sword. Indeed, the leader of the vanguard. The warriors, who were feeling encouraged with it, yelled, "Surrender now!" And they seemed to work well together. Hu Bong, who was next to Chen Yuan, felt so annoyed that he ended up asking, "Lord, please let me kill them all right now." Shoo! Chen Yuan raised his hand and made a gesture to Hu Bong, asking him to stay still. He then took a step closer to the warriors and said, "Listen, you Murim Association people." It wasn't even a shout, just a normal voice talking. Nevertheless, everyone in that place could hear it clearly. If it wasn't for the EV, those with weak internal energy might have suffered internal injuries. What amazing power! The faces of the leaders went stiff. Being superior masters, the moment they heard Chen Yuan's voice, they realized the difference in strength. And it was so shocking that they felt a chill run down their spines. Chen Yuan continued, "Very foolishly, you people have committed a grave mistake by showing hostility to the great Sky Demon Order." With those words, Chen Yuan turned his head and looked at the main office. Today, the Murim Association will pay the price. Fat. As soon as he said that, Chen Yuan sprinted into the air. The Murim warriors of the association were shocked at the man who kept climbing up as if he was stepping in the air. Unbelievable. What speed! That was something that only a few people could do. Normally, he would have just shot up at once, but because of the EV field, he had to use the energy in his body to move. What is he trying to do? The eyes of the warriors were focused on Chen Yuan, who continued to climb. It was when he climbed till the 20th floor when Chen Yuan pretended to grab something with both hands. Grab! At that moment, something hazy was caught in Chen Yuan's hand, and then turned into a giant sword. The warriors watching it couldn't help but be shocked. It was nothing like a sword. And no way. Is that an invisible sword? The size of the invisible sword in Chen Yuan's hands was 20 meters long. Despite being that grand distance, the sharp energy could be felt. Divine Master level? Only those who reached the Divine Master level could do this. However, the size of the sword was too weird and large. Just how much energy would be needed to create an invisible sword of that size? Well, wait a minute. What is he trying to do? Kam Chiok stared at that in shock. The direction at which Chen Yuan was holding the sword was towards the office. This is what happens. As soon as Chen Yuan said that, he swung the huge sword in his hand. Wuong! The blade of the invisible sword struck the roof tile of the office. Quang! With a loud roar, the tiles began to fall all around the office, and the blade of the sword pierced into the underside. Stop it! No! The warriors' eyes were wide as they screamed. Quack quack quang! The office, which was modeled after the old building of the Forces of Justice, was being split in half.